afternoon. I'm delighted to give you a very brief update on life sciences. Anybody who knows me knows I could be here all day, but I won't be. You'll recognise this. It's a traditional, typical pharma carton. They've looked like this for decades, probably since they first started being made. But they're not going to look like this for very much longer. In fact, they're going to start to look like this. So why this sudden and massive change in the industry, very, very quickly actually, because this is within 4 years this is going to happen. Well, actually, it's down to counterfeits, which is an increasing and very, very serious problem that the industry's now facing. And we often, struggle to quantify that and how big is that problem and is it a real problem? Well, actually it is. And you may have seen this image already. This was from China last year. This is just one example of a raid in a warehouse. These are all counterfeit products. And again, it's not the lifestyle products that people expect. Often it's high value oncology products because that's where the value is that we're seeing this happening. So just to give you some numbers, because it makes it a bit easier, 100,000 deaths a year, every year, attributed to counterfeit medicines in Africa. If you look, 30 million counterfeit medicines seized at EU borders in the last 5 years. I mean, these are huge numbers. They estimate that the annual sales of counterfeit medicines, 57 billion euros every single year. I mean, that is a massive amount of problems. And then 62%, there was a study done by the Alliance of Safe Medicines, and they bought a range of products online, and they actually found that 62% of medicines bought online were either fake or substandard. You'll notice there's a difference because sometimes they're referred to as falsified and sometimes they're referred to as counterfeits. Falsifieds is true fakes. Counterfeits can include IP infringement. So people sometimes report in different ways. But what we're talking about is fakes, falsified products. So what's the change? Well, this is the industry response to try and counter this, and actually it adds a huge amount of value to the packaging as well. So we're seeing that there'll be 4 data elements printed. This includes a unique number. So it introduces the batch of one concept. So every single carton is its own batch. I mean, fantastic. All of this data will be represented in a machine-readable code, predominantly ECC 200 2U data matrix. Contrast, David mentioned it earlier. It's very, very important that we're going to see this contrast. And actually, one of the things that I think will be very useful is the introduction of things like machine-readable codes will remove the need for things like Braille, might remove the need for patient information leaflets, because all of a sudden, the packaging itself is able to function with outside external factors. So where are we seeing this? Well, actually, we talked a lot about EU FMD. It's a subject very close to home, but actually this is a global trend, and the timescales are tiny. If you look in Brazil, they've got a huge mountain to climb. They've got 2 years to do it in. So again, very, very consistent in all the regions, Latin America, North America, Europe, obviously Asia as well. So a very, very big trend. And again, you'll see all these common themes of some mass serialization as well. And of course, not far behind this, because this is talking really about pharmaceutical packaging, is medical devices. So UDI legislation in America, again, mirrors this exactly for another branch of healthcare. So it's a massive change. Oh, there we are. So obviously we see lots of people at Interpack looking to comply. I think they're starting to get it. I talk to a lot of manufacturers, and we've been talking about FMD for, seems like forever, but it's at least 5, 6 years. People are starting to sort of realise what they need to do, and they understand they need to generate some data and they need to print something. So there'll be lots of people wandering around Interpack with a checkbook looking for a compliant solution. Well, unfortunately, that doesn't exist because there's lots of other things that need to happen. Again, I could literally spend all day just with this, but I won't. I mean, there's a huge amount of detail that's hiding underneath this, and a lot of this isn't helped by the way the industry's grown up, the pharma industry in itself. I'll just pick a couple of examples. GTINs, Global Trade Identification Numbers. FMCG have got this nailed because retailers police it all the time. If there is an erroneous code, it's picked up. That doesn't work in pharma. I see lots of cartons where they've got the wrong GTIN, 2 GTINs. Sometimes one of the GTINs might be the right GTIN, and sometimes neither of them are. I mean, it's crazy. All of this back office needs to be sorted out before mass serialization can go ahead. So it's a huge amount of work. David referenced it earlier. The legislation very clearly spells out that the code must be readable at the point of manufacture, but it also must be readable at any point throughout the distribution chain, but most importantly, at the point of dispensation. If you can't read the code, you can't dispense the product. For our own peace of mind, we actually tested our latest inks and the recent inks, and we said, actually, we're quite happy. We independently sent them off, and we said, yeah, they last for the entire lifespan of the ink. We took, at the time, the most popular ink, and we tested that. And this is the results, which means that actually within the manufacturing environment, it looks great. 2 years down the line, once it gets to a pharmacist, you can't read it. So again, there's a big problem waiting, and it's not just a problem in the factory walls, this is a problem potentially ticking time bomb outside. So we've got this huge mountain to climb. How hard can it be? Well, actually, there's an enormous amount to do. Because, of course, it affects the whole factory. It affects the whole business. And we're actually seeing now multidisciplinary teams of groups of people who don't normally talk to people. Manufacturing with distribution people. They don't normally get together. This is, I mean, again, this is a very, very holistic project covering the entire business. So, of course, it would be great if they had lots of time to do with it. Well, unfortunately, this is the other problem we have. This is a slide from the ESM. The ESM, if you don't know them, is European Stakeholder Model. These are the leading stakeholders, including FP, JERP, the wholesalers, the parallel traders. This is their estimation that the average company will take about 5 years to take a line, take their entire factory to be compliant. They've got 3. In Brazil, they've got 2. I mean, it's just not possible. And there's a lot of people now who still haven't started. They haven't even started the journey. They don't know what they need to do. So again, we're going to see some very, very big problems in about 2 to 3 years. So where does Domino come in? Well, we've worked for a very long time in this sector. For example, the code format we showed earlier was designed by Domino. It's now been adopted globally. So we've worked in the sector for a very long time. Nigel talked about the investment that we make in the business. Part of that investment isn't just in research, it's in knowledge. So we've spent a lot of time becoming experts in this area and advising the industry. So we've got a team of people that works in all the disciplines: validation, printing, handling, standards. You know, we help GS1 write the standards for barcoding. We've also got a global network. I mean, Nigel talked earlier about how broad the Domino business is. Well, all of that business has pharma specialties in it. We have pharma specialists in all of our channels and all of our key distributors. So again, it's a properly global network. And of course, we've got lots of parallel activity. You know, I present at the Generics Association in a couple of weeks' time. We've got presentations at the parallel traders. We're talking to governments. We're talking to the leading stakeholders. So again, lots and lots of activity. So just to summarise, it's not an engineering problem by far. It will require a very, very holistic team, and it's going to take a long time to do this. The one thing that we've said is, it's great once you've finally got a solution, which won't be off the shelf, but it still needs to be agile and flexible, because there's other things going to come. So whatever you put in needs to be reactive. And the worst thing is that the whole system is only as good as the worst bit. So you can buy leading class from all the other vendors, and there will be a number of vendors, but if you get one bit that doesn't work very well, that's what the factor that will govern how good you are. Compliance, I think as I've probably alluded to, it's going to take a lot longer, and it's going to be much, much harder than the industry thinks. We already see some of the smaller players seeing this as a competitive advantage, because the bigger players will be slower to move. Thankfully, though, there are people out there to help. The sad thing is there's not that many of us. I mean, it really is. We went, did a little event last night, and we probably had 70% of the specialists in one room. I mean, there's not a lot of people out there, and they're all getting hoovered up. So the problem for industry is that they need to find a partner, and they need to find it quickly, because again, a lot of people delaying isn't really going to work. So that's it. Hopefully I haven't terrified you too much, but thank you.